Joining me now to discuss this is Monica Simpson. She's the executive director of Sister Song, the Southern-based reproductive justice collective led by Black women, who was named as the lead plaintiff in the Georgia lawsuit that resulted in the state's 6-week abortion ban being overturned. Also with us is Rachel Sweet, campaign manager of Protect Kentucky Access. This year, she led the successful efforts that defeated the anti-abortion ballot initiatives in both Kansas and Kentucky. Both of you, thank you so much for joining me. Now, Monica, in this ruling on your group's lawsuit against Georgia's 6-week ban, Judge Robert McBurney wrote that when the law was passed, quote, it was unequivocally unconstitutional for governments, federal, state, or local, to ban abortions before viability. Under Dobbs, it may someday become the law of Georgia, but only after our legislature determines, in the sharp glare of public attention, that will undoubtedly and properly attend such an important and consequential debate whether the rights of unborn children justify such a restriction on women's rights to bodily autonomy and privacy. We haven't heard a ruling like that before regarding abortion bans, but that's the argument you made in the court. Two things. One is it going to be appealed? And two is, do you expect the Georgia legislature to act quickly to simply just pass a new 6-week ban?
Well, I will tell you this: we are still very excited about the success. But what we also know is true is that we are working against a government. We're working against forces who have told us and shown us repeatedly that they have an agenda. And so what we have to continue to do is put the pressure where it needs to be. We need to hold these systems accountable in the ways that we did throughout the entirety of this case, making sure that this court system that we have is actually working for us in the best way and giving Georgians what they want, which is to be able to live in a state where they can make their own decisions about their bodies and their futures. And what we also have to do is continue to put the pressure on our state legislature, right? We have to ensure that they know that there is a broad, bold coalition who is going to hold them accountable to make sure that we are going to get what we need in Georgia, which is definitely not a ban. So that's exactly what we're going to continue to have to do.
And Rachel, while people like Monica are taking challenges to the court system and, as Monica noted, putting the pressure on legislative officials in the state, you've been going straight to voters in these ballot initiatives, and you know, you've had obviously incredible success. You're approaching the fight from different angles. Is there a tried or true method? Should it be all of the above? Why do you think voting measures, ballot measures, have been so successful?
Yeah, this victory in Georgia is absolutely a testament to the fact that reproductive rights and justice advocates need to use every single tool in their toolbox to restore access to legal abortion. In Kentucky, for example, these strategies are not separable. In Kentucky, on November 8th, voters rejected Amendment 2, which would have removed the right to abortion from the Kentucky Constitution by a 5-point margin. And a week later, on November 15th, Planned Parenthood and the ACLU were in front of the Kentucky Supreme Court doing oral arguments in a case over the state's abortion bans. And Amendment 2 was brought up by the judges multiple times. So these are definitely strategies that we have to approach from every single angle. And the reason that we have seen such success with abortion rights ballot measures across the country in red states, purple states, blue states this cycle is that it's really clear that the Dobbs decision does not reflect the will of the people. The reason that we got the Dobbs decision is because we have a conservative U.S. Supreme Court that is beholden to special interests, not to the will of the people. And direct democracy through ballot measures is one way that the people can make their voices heard on this issue, in addition to continuing to hold elected officials accountable. And, you know, we are definitely anticipating that we will see more of these types of ballot measures in 2024 and 2026 as states evaluate the best way to get abortion rights back for women across this country.
Well, Monica, I have two questions for you. One is, Georgia's not the only state that had laws, abortion-related laws, put on the books prior to Dobbs, right? So have you been in touch with lawmakers from many other states about following the path that you took to see if they could replicate your success? And two is, as you survey the landscape in the state of Georgia politically, do you think the midterm elections, which was sort of a resounding success for abortion rights, do you think that will make some Republican legislators rethink the idea of very stringent anti-abortion legislation?
I think that we really did create a really awesome kind of case study for how it looks whenever we litigate, whenever we organize with this reproductive justice framework that we did in this case. And so there are a lot of folks who are looking to us to think about what does it mean to really think about our issues intersecting with each other. We really led with that in this case in Georgia. We talked about this being rooted in white supremacy. So we really brought in that racial justice analysis that I think was really critical to understanding what was really at stake around this case. We also brought in the fact that Georgia, like so many other states around this country, are dealing with a maternal health crisis in this country. And so we were able to really build bridges along those communities. So this case, you know, as in some places was called a feminist manifesto in a speak, right? Because we were really trying to make sure that people understood intersectionality, that people understood what it meant to really organize and move and see all of these issues interconnected, because that's what's the most important for people in Georgia. So yes, folks are really interested in how they replicate that across this country. Secondly, in terms of like, what does this mean for us being able to just continue to put the pressure where we need to? That's what we're going to have to do with anything that we're doing across this country right now. This midterm election did give us a really good picture as to what we have to work on and how far we have to move. And I think that Republicans know, and a lot of folks who are betting on this to be their winning strategy, that it's not going to be their winning strategy whenever we continue to build the collective power that we did in Georgia to get the win that we did. So I think it's really putting them on notice in a way that they're going to have to really rethink their strategies.
Right. And Rachel, finally, very quickly, last time you were on this show, before Election Day, obviously, the fate of the Kentucky measure was still really uncertain. But what comes next for a state like Kentucky, where voters have now rejected anti-abortion amendment, but there's still a strict abortion ban in effect?
Great question. As I mentioned, the ACLU and Planned Parenthood are plaintiffs in a case over the state's 6-week abortion ban and trigger ban. And just last week, on November 15th, attorneys in those cases were arguing before the Kentucky Supreme Court, attempting to get those laws struck down. Their argument is that the Kentucky Constitution does protect the right to privacy, and it does guarantee a right to abortion. It's actually a similar argument that attorneys in Georgia were making and that the judge did not at this time really weigh in on. But it is an argument that we're seeing states make as they try to find a legal pathway forward to litigate these really extreme abortion bans. And so we're feeling optimistic about the future of abortion access in Kentucky. We knew that defeating Amendment 2 was the first step, and now it is up to the courts and to the people to really hold their elected officials accountable regardless of the outcome.
All right, Monica Simpson and Rachel Sweet, thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it.